Welcome to my second podcast. And as of right now, this podcast will be called The Useful Idiot because I will be explaining exactly what a useful idiot is. Let's get started. This is live, making sure we got everything worked out. Always representing the GG33. Live? See me on there? All right. Like I said, today's podcast will be called The Useful Idiot. But before we get started, I'd like to make an announcement. GG33 is against censorship. GG33 is against what Twitter and big tech companies have been doing for a long time. Since May 11th of 2019, I have been suspended from Twitter 9 times. This is my 10th account. I've lost over a combined 100,000 followers. Enough is enough. So because of that, we have moved to the new conservative landscape called Parler. This is my account on Parler. I hope you guys join. It is Gary the Numbers Guy. They actually let me say it in this one. As we know, the Gary the Numbers Guy on Twitter who uses that name is a troll. So interesting how Twitter suspends me, but it allows the troll account. That's extremely interesting. But again, GG33, GG33 supporters, please go to Parler. We're going to try to build this thing up. Now, it is possible this is a PSYOP. I want to put this out there so it's not like, oh, we didn't think about this. It is possible this is a PSYOP. Maybe they just want to know who all the Patriots really are. This is the way they find out. I'll give you a nice little unique story. When Joseph Stalin controlled the Soviet Union, and the Soviet Union were nothing more but bloodthirsty communists, what you have to understand is what happened is this. They always wanted to find people who were against them, but everyone knew to be quiet when Stalin was in charge in the USSR. So what they did was very interesting. They had a poet, a couple of these guys, and what this dude he'd go through bars, city to city, and he'd start denouncing Stalin. He'd start saying this guy's a murderer, blah blah blah. And what happened is whoever started saying, yeah, rah, we're with you, all those people were arrested. That's how the communists operated back then. All those people who were rah-rahing the guy who was talking shit about Stalin, they were all arrested. But what happened was, poet was never touched. It went from city to city, all over the Soviet Union. And remember, the Soviet Union is about 4 times bigger than America. So that's a lot of land to cover. So they went from city to city in the Soviet Union. And basically what happened is this. This is how they caught people. So it is possible this is what Parler is. Yet sometimes, even though something could be a trap, still got to step into it because the pressure is so much on Twitter. And I mean, for God's sake, they've redirected my website to spam. That's how much they want to get rid of me. They haven't even done that to Alex Jones. It is what it is. Next item of agenda and what we will be discussing in this pretty much podcast. The useful idiots. That term has been used a lot, but a lot of people don't actually know what it means. And today we will be discussing Black Lives Matter. We'll be discussing Antifa. We'll be discussing all of that. But first, before we do, we have to understand what a useful idiot is. And that's what we're going to be doing right now. See, a useful idiot is a degenerate term for a guy who is perceived as someone who goes around brainwashed by propaganda and he doesn't even know what the end goal is. That's why he's a useful idiot, because he's needed to cause trouble, but he doesn't actually know what the end goal is. I'll give you an example. In 1979, there is an Islamic revolution. A whole bunch of liberals, communists, Islamists, all basically went to war with the Shah, the U.S. backed, basically dictator at that time. Yet it was the liberals who started it, and I want you to listen to what happened.
On November the 4th, 1979, some 300 protesters calling themselves the Muslim student followers of the Imam's line occupied the American embassy in Tehran.
300 students occupied the American embassy. All right, let's go a little bit back. I want you guys to see exactly what I'm talking about. Let's start.
Hi, I'm Rick Steve. Crazy Tehran traffic. Before
Oh
experiencing
God.
Let me say, like them, there was no post-revolutionary blueprint, just a loose.
Okay, we found it. So listen to what they say right here.
And implement his sayings. He is a leader, whether you like it or not.
And yet, beyond their hatred of the Shah, the opposition had little to unite them. There was no post-revolutionary blueprint, just the loose alignment of communists, Democrats, nationalists, and Islamists.
Did you guys hear that? There was no common bond except for the fact that they hated the Shah. Islamists, liberals, and communists. This is very, very important because what people have to understand is there is a communist playbook. There is a way these people do things. And basically how it starts is it finds what the cracks in the society are. And the cracks in this society is race. It's a very touchy subject. But if people think it's just race and that's the only thing people can divide us on, that's wrong. They can use class warfare, rich versus poor. They can use a religion, Protestant versus Catholic, Christianity versus Islam. There's a lot of different tactics, but here in America, they're using race. And I want you to understand, the people who are actually pushing Black Lives Matter, the people who own, who started, who are funding Black Lives Matter, don't give a damn about the black man. Are you kidding me? As a matter of fact, they are just using you just like the Islamists used the liberals in 1979 because the Islamists couldn't throw over the American-backed government. They couldn't do it because they would have got shot down. But see, the liberals, the ones in society, they can rebel and the troops can't really fire on them. No matter what you say, the troops can't really fire on them. So that's why they're needed, and that's why they're, again, called useful idiots. Again, I'm going to play this one more time because it's very, very important to understand what is going on here. Listen again.
When people follow a personality and pay attention and implement his sayings, he is a leader, whether you like it or not.
And yet, beyond their hatred of the Shah, the opposition had little to unite them. There was no post-revolutionary blueprint, just the loose alignment of communists, Democrats, nationalists, and Islamists.
So again, they needed the liberals to start the revolts. And once the Shah was actually overthrown, well, that's when the Islamists came in and they basically lined the liberals up against the wall because they're not needed anymore. That's why they're called useful idiots. They're needed to start the revolution, but once the revolution actually reaches its middle point or final point, they're lined up against the wall. Same thing that people did in the Soviet Union. This is nothing new, folks. This is how the game plan works. Now let's go to Black Lives Matter. It's very, very important to look at Black Lives Matter and understand what they are doing. This is one of the founders of Black Lives Matter. Listen to what she says.
I think that the criticism is helpful. I also think that it might. I think of a lot of things. The first thing I think is that we actually do have an ideological frame. Myself, and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists.
They are trained Marxists. So again, what is going on here? They are trained Marxists. They started Black Lives Matter. So what basically they're doing is they found an issue to divide America on. And now that they're actually dividing America through Black Lives Matter, who doesn't give a damn about Black lives, let's be very, very honest with everybody. They don't care. They want you guys now to be the useful idiots, as long with all the white liberals. They want you to be the useful idiots. They want you to tear down the statues. By the way, that's part of the communist playbook. Tear down people's history. They want you to go around saying defund the police. Because guess what? Targeting the police is one of the first things that communists have to do. They want a lawless society until they have power, and then they line you up against the wall. It's very important to understand how these communist bastards work. And I've shown you step by step how they actually do this in many different situations, from Iran in 1979 to what is happening in America right now. Understand this has nothing to do with Black Lives Matter. It's a catchy phrase. And if you're part of my advanced, gold and silver class, you understand why. Yet, what you do have to understand is this. They have nothing to do with actual Black lives. These are communists who want to take over your agenda. Now, more examples. Washington, D.C., they wanted to become the 51st state. Well, I found this gentleman over here. Where is he? Let's see if we can find him. Oh, yeah, there's them co-opting your movement. Let's see if we can find this. Oh, here we are. There we are. So I'm going to play this. I want you guys to hear this.
This Friday, the Congress, specifically the House of Representatives, for the first time ever, are going to vote for D.C. to have statehood. That means that as early as this Friday, D.C. could be the 51st state of this country. Why does that matter? Because for the past hundreds of years, we've only known a nation's capital to be just that. We've also known a nation's capital that really representation didn't matter for over 700,000 people. You know what that means? Many people who live in the nation's capital who are black and brown did not really have a vote in Congress. That deeply impacts our work. People are not really just asking for police reform. We should abolish the police. People are actually asking us to upend white supremacy and to upend capitalism.
Upend capitalism. Did you hear what he said? This is a Black Lives Matter guy. He just told you the agenda is to upend capitalism. Notice this guy's a fruitcake 617, by the way. Again, let's go back here. These people are co-opting this movement. The rainbow, the pronoun gangsters, they're co-opting this movement. And 90% of the LGBT is against capitalism. But see, this is very, very important. Political correctness is to the point where the communists know if you say anything against trans, if you say anything against homosexuals, if you say anything against people who support Black Lives Matter, well, you're a racist, you're a bigot, but their underlining cause is communism. That's what brings them all together. Communism and communists. And they found a great way through political correctness to shut people down. Well, you can't criticize a gay person. You can't criticize a person who's transgender. You can't criticize Black Lives Matter. They want you to shut up. That's the whole point. That's why they're using these groups. So again, let's go back to our friend one more time. And by the way, DC, if it wants any representation with senators, it can be reunited back with Virginia or Maryland. what where it was taken from, except for the White House and the state capitol, and then they can vote for senators that way. More than welcome to do that. But see, the Democrats ain't interested in that. They want to stack the deck. So again, listen to this guy one more time.
Hacks our work. People are not really just asking for police reform. We should abolish the police. People are actually asking us to upend white supremacy.
White supremacy. We'll get into that right after this.
And to upend capitalism. And to make sure that we have a 51st state in this country. It should be the District of Columbia. So please, please, please make sure to get word.
That's enough for him. 617. Anyways, here's what it basically comes down to. They're using Black Lives Matter. They're using the LGBT to basically gain power because they know political correctness has made it to such a point where criticizing them might get you fired. I mean, we're to the same point right now where if I say something that people don't like, they might get my family fired. That's already happened. I believe the guy who founded Gab sent an email that Visa cut him off because he runs Gab and also cut his family off. This is what the Chinese Communist Party does. Their social credit system, where they punish people's families for the crimes of individual. This is the road we're going down, folks. This is a very, very dangerous road. And the thing is, most of these people who don't understand what's going on, they're basically all emotion. They don't understand this part. They are useful idiots. And they are becoming very, very dangerous in society. Because once you get too many useful idiots, a society starts collapsing. Now, I want to talk about white privilege. I've heard the argument from Black Lives Matter so-called intellectuals that black people cannot be racist, they can only be prejudiced. And the reason they can't be racist is because they have no power like the white man. So my question to them is this. Can a white man get a black man fired because of political correctness? Can a black man get a white person fired for political correctness? Oh, hell yeah. Sad, but true. So who is actually saying they have no power is a lie. Maybe they don't have power in other areas, but they do have power in some areas. So what their term of saying they can only be prejudiced but not racist, that's a lie as well. Understand the logic? Anyways, before I open up these phone lines, and I know people want to battle, and we'll do that in a second, I want to talk a little bit about numerology and astrology. I want to talk about what got me into numerology and astrology. And some of you have heard the story, but a lot of you haven't. So I'm going to say it one more time. Now it's going to be my last time. I definitely will say it a few more times. Anyways, on 9/11/2001, I woke up and I turned on the TV and I thought I was watching Die Hard. Bruce Willis, Die Hard movie. And I thought it was basically a movie. It wasn't until the second plane hit that I realized what was going on. And the first thing that I said when that happened was, I said Osama bin Laden. Obviously, the U.S. blamed Osama bin Laden for it, and we all know that was a bunch of horse shit. But the fact of the matter is, on 9/11/2001, I was so brainwashed that as soon as something happened, I already thought in my head Osama bin Laden without the U.S. government actually saying it. What that points out is that the U.S. government had me brainwashed and millions of other people at that point. Luckily, I got out of that brainwashing process. And I started understanding what was really going on. I was about 23 years old at the time. So that's essentially where I woke up. Let's get started. First thing that caught me about 9/11 was the fact that it happened on the 11th. That's the first thing that caught my mind. And I also remembered that the police code was 9/11. Interesting. So the police code was 9/11, and this happened on 9/11. I thought that was interesting. Obviously, that wasn't enough. And then I realized that the first plane that hit the World Trade Center was Flight 11. And then I realized that the Twin Towers standing side by side, as you guys can see right now, were an 11. And then I started seeing they had 110 stories was 11. Then New York City, 11 letters. New York was the 11th state in the Union. At this point came a lot of coincidences. I didn't know what numerology was. Hell, all the numerologists at that time said there's no such thing as a master number 2, as master number 11. It was a 2. So you can't even look this stuff up on the internet. It's not there. But before I was a numerologist, before I was an astrologer, I was always a history buff. Always a history buff. And I remember the Great War, World War I, ended at 11/11 at exactly 11 a.m. And that was the kicker. Once I remember that, I was like, wait a second. They were still firing bullets at each other at 10:55, yet at 11 o'clock they stopped. 3 11s? Why is that? And that was when I started looking at numerology. And down the line, I realized that America attacked Afghanistan on 10/7/2001. Take out the zeros. 1 7 2 1. Again, you have 11. Afghanistan, 11 letters. And then I started seeing that Al Qaeda, which was founded on August 11th, attacked America on 9/11, attacked Madrid, Spain on a train on March 11th, and attacked Mumbai, India on July 11th. At that point, common sense, someone's doing something. But all the numerologists at the time, pretty much a joke. I started telling people that, I believe that terrorists are using numerology to plan attacks, and they called me a conspiracy theorist. I'm a conspiracy theorist. Yet everything I've learned since then is showing me the exact opposite of what they were telling me. People are using this energy against people. Now I'm going to explain how. 11 is the number of emotional energy. A lot of people who are 11 life paths are extremely emotional. Michael Jordan, the prime example. Very emotional person. Versus emotion on the sleeve. That's how 11s are. Some 11s have a lot of charisma. No matter what you think about him, Barack Obama, born 8/4/1961, had hella charisma. Hella charisma. Bill Clinton, another 11 life path, born 8/19/1946. Hella charisma. Ronald Reagan, on the Republican side. Go back and play YouTube videos of how this guy was joking around. He had the whole room. Even the Democrats were laughing with him. He was that good. One of the best motivational speakers of our generation, Tony Robbins, a double 11. So 11s are great leaders because people are emotionally attached to them. And that's exactly why the powers that be attack or make sure terrorist attacks are done on 11 days. Because they want that emotional connection from you. You want some other proof they use numerology? Take a look at all the companies that are started on the 28th. Why is Rolex always putting out the 28 in their logo or in their watches? It's the number of wealth. But one of the best ones is the royal family. The Windsors, or whatever the hell you want to call them. A lot of 11s in that royal family. Quite a few. And when you start understanding that they're having C-sections on specific days to make sure people who are born into that family are 11s, you understand why. Prince William, soon to be King William, 11 life path. And one last point I want to go into is this. 3 out of the 4 last American presidents were born in the year of the dog. The second, Bush, Clinton, and Donald Trump. 3 out of the last 4. Future King, Prince William, 11 life path too. Dog. Why? Because dog is the 11th sign. They woke, people. They woke. So what we're going to do right now is we are going to take phone calls. You want to criticize me? Call up. You want to say, what's up, Gary? Thank you for teaching me how to use numerology. You can do that as well. So I'll let my producer do his thing here. He'll post the number in the very top of the podcast, and we will get started. This is that dull moment that you watch live. Sound better on the podcast. So again, the phone number 440 area code 782-1213. Again, 440-782-1213. It's on the very top of the podcast, and we will be taking phone calls very shortly. Oh. We got our first phone call. You are live. Speak your piece, brother.
Hey, what's up, Gary? It's Cat Energy. I just got a question I want to ask you. Everybody's been asking me to ask you it.
Yes, sir.
What is your opinion on the Black Wall Street Massacre? What is your opinion on that?
You mean in Tulsa?
Yes.
That was crazy murder and racism to the nth degree. But it's very interesting that when black people didn't have affirmative action before LBJ's Great Society, in over 100 years ago, they were able to make their own city and become prosperous off it. So that just shows you that what happens when capitalism. It's a beautiful thing. Capitalism is colorblind, but it is very interesting that they used World War I planes to bomb that place. And it all started because they said a white woman was hit on by a black man. That was racism, brother. I mean, listen, that's not going on today. Okay, that is not going on today because people make it sound like we're still living in that era. Here's some facts for you. Here's some facts.
They've been messaging me like, "Hey, ask Gary that." So
here's some facts for you, Cat Energy. There's 12 black billionaires in the world. 6 of them are in the United States of America. To put that in perspective, America only has 4% of the population in the world. Yet half the black billionaires are in America. 40 million black Americans have more wealth than over 1 billion blacks outside of America. Now, is it perfect? Of course not. Are there problems? Of course. But yet, this is the least racist nation in the world. It is proven not by empty words, but with facts that black lives actually do matter in this country. Yet, in a country where they have the freedom, they're actually trying to destroy it because the communists have got to them through the education system. The communists have got to them through TikTok or all these other platforms. That's a big problem, brother.
Yes,
Is what
sir.
it
I'm
is.
just happy you were able to, so everybody can hear that. Everybody heard that. Thank you for answering that question because people kept asking me about that. I asked it for you. Thank you for everything you've done. Thank you for all the knowledge. Keep doing what you're doing. I love the podcast. I'm out.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Right? That was Cat Energy, a GG33 member. And why don't we take another phone call? Before we do, do what we have to do every single episode, because we have to remember that the CCP is the enemy of society. This is the Nazi regime of the 21st century, the CCP. And every episode, we're going to put more holes in that fucking flag until it's done. Because people have to understand, this is the enemy. These are the people who want to enslave you. Doesn't matter if you're white, black, Muslim, or anything else. These are the people who are here to enslave you. Before we go any further, I'll light one up. Joe Rogan could come on my podcast. How about that? So what I wanted to do right now was I want to explain Islam. A lot of people ask me my opinions on Islam. And I gotta tell you, I don't have too many problems with Sharia law. Okay? I don't eat pork as it is. Born in the snake year. I don't think anyone born in the pig. I don't eat any bacon, so I have no problem with that. I don't really drink. I mean, it's a cold day in hell when you see. It doesn't happen too often. I do this, but I do not drink, so I have no problem with that. I have no problem with women covering up. You know, there's a time and place for everything. I have no problem with that either. What I do have a problem with is paying a jizya. And a jizya is a tax that Muslims put on non-believers. That's what the Ottoman Empire did. So what I want to do is I wanted to go to one particular video. And I want you to understand why Islam is the only religion that's pretty much been allowed to grow in the age of Aquarius, because we know religion is a Pisces thing. We talked about that before. Religion is a Pisces energy thing. We talked about that in the last episode. But what I wanted to do was basically show you what Islam is for. Why Islam is allowed to prosper. Very, very important that people understand this, because people don't understand why Islam is the one religion that liberals won't criticize, even though everything they say is against it. So I want you guys to read the words. I'm not going to read the words because, let me tell you something. There will definitely be used against me out of context if I read these words for you. So I want you to read these words if you're watching this live. And if you're not, catch it on YouTube later. Listen, read what this person says. This was taken like about a week ago on Egyptian TV. He's talking about homosexuals.
ابن عباس على الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم من وجدتموه يعمل
if you find men engaged in a homosexual act.
عمل قوم لوط فاقتلوا الفاعل والمفعول
I'm not going to read that part. You can read it yourself.
به الموجب والسالب. جروب بدر تقول له انت موجب ولا سالب؟ طب انا مش عارفه ايه. طب انت
Don't start asking if they're active or passive. Just read the rest.
اقتلوهم الفاعل والمفعول. الصحابه كلهم اجمعوا على قتل اللوطي، لكن اختلفوا في طريقه القتل. منهم ان قال لا يحرق بالنار، ده رأي سيدنا علي، افقه اهل الارض سيدنا علي، واخذ به سيدنا ابو بكر. ومنهم قال لا اللي يرمى من اعلى مكان شاهق ويطبع بحجار، ده قول ابن عباس. ومنهم قال يرمى بحجاره حتى يموت.
So this person basically said homosexuals should be either thrown off buildings, stoned to death, or put or burned to death. Again, I didn't say this. This person said this.
موت. وده سيدنا علي وسيدنا عباس الاثنين اقروه. طب بالنسبه للبنات.
Now, this person starts talking about lesbians. If this applies to lesbians.
تقول لك السحاق واللي هم بيعملوه هي حكمه بقى زي اللواط. العلماء قالوا
The Islamic scholars have said lesbianism is prohibited.
كلهم قاطبة كل العلماء على حرمة السحاق بين النساء. ما يقولوش انا مثلي، بيقولوا انا مش بقولوش شاذ، يقول لك انا مثلي جاي، انا مثلي عشان الشياكة يعني ما يكونش. لا.
So they say they don't want to call themselves homosexuals. They want to call themselves gay. They want to make it sound nice. He says, no, you are homosexuals, sodomites, and lesbians. Now, I want you to understand why Islam is allowed to flourish. Because after Islam has played this very, very well, after the Islamics get control, let's go back to the very, very beginning. Very, very beginning of what we talked about. After the Islamists get control,
whether you like it or not.
And yet, beyond their hatred of the Shah, the opposition had little to unite them. There was no post-revolutionary blueprint, just the loose alignment of communists, Democrats, nationalists, and Islamists.
So Islamists will align themselves with liberals. They will align themselves with liberals while they need them. Just like they're doing in Europe. The Islamists are aligning themselves with liberals now. Yet when that day comes and capitalism should happen to fall, that lady who was on Egyptian state TV just told you what they're going to do to their liberals, friends. They're going to line them up against the wall. This is the same playbook over and over. So, while the New World Order needs Black Lives Matter, needs LGBT now, once capitalism has actually fallen, it's going to use Islam to clean them up. Islam is here to quote-unquote cleanse after capitalism has fallen. Yet, Islam thinks it's going to take over. That's not really how it works, folks. That's not how it works at all. Because, see, they have intern camps in China. China is re-educating the Muslims in their population. They have about 2 million Muslims in re-education camps in China right now. So after the Islamists are done cleansing the liberals and the LGBT, guess who's going to cleanse the Muslims? The Chinese. I have basically just told you what the whole plan is from step A, B, to the very end. This is how the New World Order is planning to do things. It might be a shock to some of you. Sure it is. But I've given you the evidence in this video. It is not just me. I have given you the evidence. In closing, just to review, Twitter has suspended me 9 times. I've lost a combined over 100K followers from those 9 suspensions. I'm sick of it. And even though Parler might be a psyop, please follow me there because we don't know what is. My name is Gary the Numbers Guy there. And if I'm not censored, enjoy. Because this will take us back to my account in the 2009, 2011 days. I was wild. You think I'm wild now? No, I've actually toned down quite a bit. No, I use the word 617 now. I use the real word back then. But as anything in life, we all adapt with the times. And always understand this. This back here, Chinese Communist Party, they are here to basically enslave the world. With all the faults that America has, it is still the greatest nation ever existed. We Americans have more rights. Yes, they've eroded since 9/11. Forgot about that. We as Americans have more rights than any other country in the world. And one of the reasons we have those rights is because we have guns. The UK and Australia, these can strong arm anyone they want. They can do anything. Can't clap back. Here in America, they know if they push too hard, we push back. Because we do have the Second Amendment. And understand this. The people in this country who want to strip you of the right to have guns are either one, useful idiots. God knows we talked about that already today. Or number 2, guess someone's calling in. We're gonna have to do that so the background can. All right, let's take the phone call. Anyways, don't worry about it. Like I was saying, the people who want to strip you of gun rights in this country basically comes down to 2 things. They're the useful idiots, or they're helping the our Americans because they want to invade. This has been the second GG33 podcast. In the future, we will start having guests. You guys enjoy the program. Before I leave you, remember, strong take from the weak, smart take from the strong, wise take from the strong. Until next time.